Rage, the threat to American democracy. And Tom, we'll start with you. Why are white rural voters a threat to democracy at this point? You would think.
Hello, Black America. I want us to understand that American democracy is under attack from within its system. We have to understand that white people have never been proponents of democracy. White people have always opposed equality when it comes to Black people because they have always been given a lot of government assistance in order to propel them above us.
I mean, we lay out the fourfold interconnected threat that white rural voters pose to the country. First of all, and we show 30 polls and national studies to demonstrate this, so we provide the receipts in Chapter 6. They're the most racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, and anti-gay geodemographic group in the country. Second, they're the most conspiracist group. QAnon support and subscribers, election denialism, COVID denialism and scientific skepticism, Obama birtherism. Third, anti-democratic sentiments. They don't believe in an independent press, free speech. They're most likely to say the president should be able to act unilaterally without any checks from Congress or the courts or the bureaucracy. They're also the most strongly white nationalist and white Christian nationalists. And fourth, they are most likely to excuse or justify violence as an acceptable alternative to peaceful public discourse.
So you mentioned a lot of negative factors about this demographic.
These white journalists wrote a book to explain to America how white America are opposed to democracy. They wrote a book to explain to you how white American politics have been not to benefit them, but in opposition of Black people's progress. He's explaining to you that they're not requiring any change within their government. What they're requiring is your oppression. That is white people politics. And this is what this book is explaining about how white people vote.
Tom, what else do they have in common?
Well, you know, I think that what really matters at this point in time.
What makes them vulnerable?
Oh, well, a lot of that has to do with, as a starting point, the problems that rural America has, which are very real and very profound. Mm-hmm. They have the more problematic education systems. They have poor infrastructure. They've had a lack of economic opportunity. We've seen a lot of manufacturing jobs leave from rural areas.
It is ironic that white people are complaining about the very issues that their politics have forced Black people into. We are in some of the most deindustrialized areas in America. And what do? You're not trying to fight for jobs for our community. What you're trying to do is criminalize us. We come from Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, all these places, Philadelphia, all these places were the most deindustrialized places in America, leaving Blacks impoverished with jobs. To this day, white people form unions and block Blacks from the participation in your unions, deprived us of jobs, and now their issue and complaint about the deindustrialization of their community still makes them decide they want to plot and hate on us. It is ridiculous. The inhumanity of these people. You have to understand, Trump received 66% of the white vote. And like I said in a prior video, 73% of whites hated King. So I'm saying is white America lack a moral pulse. And due to the fact that they have been the majority of the elected, they have always voted opposition of your own interests. This is what created your condition. It's the politics they voted on. But with you, they're going to tell you to pull yourself up by the bootstrap. But for them, they make their complaining about what the government's not creating for them. See, they understand how they receive benefits from the government, how the government has a purpose to create jobs and opportunities for its citizens. But see, they believe that it doesn't have that responsibility for black people. And black people have bit into that same concept. And you have went along with white people in the criminalization of your own people, ignoring the de-energization of your community. But they do not ignore that. They raid the White House, fighting for their politics. You accept your position. You accept being silent. You accept not being active in creating a better future for your youth.
And that kind of left them open to someone like Donald Trump, who would come along and tell them something that was true, that there is a system that has not served them well. And he said...
They're pissed off.
They are pissed off, and they have some reason to be, with both parties. The trouble is that what Donald Trump gave them was not something that was actually going to fix those problems, but was just a kind of a way to channel their rage and anger. And
They said to take out their anger. Who do they have the most anger and rage towards? You have to understand, Donald Trump received 66% of the white vote. So 60% of white Americans overlooked Donald Trump's racist rhetoric. Why? 66% of America overlooked the fact that Donald Trump offers you no politics. He refused to even participate in a debate to even tell you his policies will be in president, but they do not care about that. What they care about is they feel that Donald Trump will allow them to unleash their hatred towards blacks. This is why Donald Trump has so much strong support. White America will support anybody that will justify them being allowed to perpetrate violence upon the black community.
You know, we've been told for so long, especially Democrats have been told, that in order to get rural voters, to get them to listen to you, you have to go there, you have to really empathize with them, you have to show them that you understand their lives, you have to, you know, put on a Carhartt jacket and go down to somebody's farm.
Have a beer.
And maybe milk a cow.
Yes.
And it turned out that none of that was true.
No.
When Donald Trump came along, he didn't do any of that stuff. He was just a conduit for their rage, their anger, their resentment. And that turned out to be what they wanted. And it wasn't really about the material conditions of their lives, because he didn't improve their lives, but he got more support in rural areas in 2020 than he had in 2016, despite the fact that none of their problems had gotten any better under him. All that he gave them was a way to essentially give a big middle finger to Democrats, to people who live in cities, and to the rest of the country.
Isn't he more than a conduit to their rage? Isn't he also a symbol of their aspirations to an extent?
They are, but what are their aspirations? As we write in the book,
rich.
I guess, but they're not getting there, right? Poverty is soaring in between 20.
And why aren't they seeing that?
I think this is the disconnect, right? They'd rather channel their rage. I think what a lot of rural white Americans have decided is that their economic fortunes are decided by globalization and, frankly, late-stage capitalism, which is eating up all the mom-and-pop stores and taking away, you know, the extractive industries and coal and farming and so forth. So they might as well vote on their cultural issues. They might as well vote on God, gun, and religion, because they feel like neither party is going to deliver any material benefit. They're not going to reverse the closure of rural pharmacies and rural hospitals and rural healthcare treatment facilities, which are now disappearing, not because of communism and not because of socialism, but because of capitalism, right?
What did you just say? What did you just say, Cooper?
I would rather pay my healthcare insurance right now than have it for free, because I don't want freeloaders going off my health insurance.
How much did you say it was for?
My ambulance ride to the hospital was $3,400 in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. on a Sunday, and I understood that that's my fault, okay?
And how much do you you think that's what we should pay?
All of it
for health insurance.
But I also have.
This is a Republican.
I understand. I'm a Republican. Put this on Facebook, motherfucker. I don't care.
I deleted my Facebook.
And I will pay it again.
I'll put it on TikTok. Though.
I will pay it again.
You will pay it again. Please don't.
You did pay it again. You paid it like 6 months later when you had to go do like $4 grand to get your heart checked out.
No, I didn't. It was like one, okay?
Right? Rural pharmacies and hospitals are closing because they're not money makers, and unless they're part of a regional chain, they're disappearing. So Trump comes in and says, let's just hate on cities. Let's just hate on minorities. Let's hate on immigrants. And at least they can deliver on that. And so they're not even voting in their material interests anymore. And that's causing a further decay and decline of rural communities.
All right.
I have such great access to medical. It's good to be president, I guess.
It seems like Donald Trump made a really good case for universal health care the other day.
It's a lot easier for me than somebody that's, doesn't have access to a doctor so easily, where it's a big deal to see a doctor.
You sure did, Ali.
The doctors at Walter Reed were incredible.
Last weekend at Walter Reed Medical Center, President Trump received the highest degree of health care in the world, and it was on the taxpayer's dime.
This is an incredible hospital, Walter Reed.
According to the New York Times, the treatment that the president received would have cost the average American at least $100,000 in medical expenses. That estimate is on the low side.
I'll be the doctor here, and I promise you no copay.
Okay. Sounds good to me, Mark.
Senator, good to see you. You tweeted, Mr. Trump, guess what? The Walter Reed Hospital you were at, where you claimed you got excellent, high-quality care, that is a 100% government-funded, government-run, dare I say, socialist facility.
What they're doing is socialized medicine, and it's not acceptable.
Let's be clear, black people. White people will cut off their nose to spite their face. As much as they need health care, as much as this is bankrupting America, the healthcare system, as exorbitant as the prices are gaining, Europeans fight universal health care, one, because they fear that blacks will benefit from it, two, the current Medicare system, because it was presented by a black president, because it was passed and pushed by a black president. White people will cut off their nose in order to spite their face. This is why I believe in complete and total separation from Europeans, because the only time I believe the blacks has really done well and excelled in America is during the Reconstruction period, because immediately after slavery, we understood the significance in separating from these Europeans as much as possible.
This is the impoverished Southeast, coal country, hit hard by the downturn in that industry. It's one of the poorest regions in America and one of its least healthy. It's where last November, people voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump.
This is Whitley County. Like many counties in this region, voters here overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump in November's election. The county has a median per capita income of around $16,000. It's 97% white, and 88% of the residents over 25 don't have a college degree. It also happens to be the birthplace of Kentucky Fried Chicken. And these are some of the Americans who have benefited most from Barack Obama's signature health policy, the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare.
Since Obamacare kicked in, some 440,000 Kentuckians suddenly found themselves able to be insured. Most of that because Obamacare broadened coverage for America's poor. And in that group, just for example, breast cancer screenings went up 64%. Hepatitis C screenings more than tripled. Diabetes screenings rose more than 700%.
Since Obamacare launched in 2013, the number of lower-income, less educated white Americans with insurance increased dramatically, not just in Kentucky, but nationwide. This group benefited disproportionately from the law. Yet the same demographic showed up in huge numbers for Donald Trump in November.